This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome to the meeting. We're going to start with Weichert Works, and then I'll take you through the Weichert sites. And I'm going into Weichert Works from here, from my desktop. For those of you who turn in all of your documents to the staff, that's perfectly fine. But I think that you need to understand the power of what this website does for you, for those who don't go there. I'm going to go to first of all, on the main page, it shows you where you can register for the webinars. So here are all the webinars. It also has some articles, community posts, the KCM crew. This is a link to their website. You can actually customize what the KCM crew does so that it's branded to you with the Weichert logo on it, and you can use it for email blasts to your sphere of influence. So if you ever see an article in here that you're interested in, you merely just click on it and you can customize it from there and send it out. So it makes you relevant in the real estate market. It has the calendar at the top of the page. This is going to give you an idea of what's coming up. And as you can see, it includes the sales meetings every Wednesday. There's lunch and learns. Now this is my calendar, so it's going to talk about when my houses go under contract. So there's the listing date was July 8th. I listed Nottingham. If I had some closings in here, that would also be in here. You can see that my inspection time frame ends today on Tanglewood Trail. Pops right up into my calendar. I can sync this with my phone so that it will tell me this on my phone as well. So when I open up my calendar on my phone every morning, it'll have the list of things that need to be done. So if I had actually programmed a closing date in here, which I haven't done, I have to admit, it happened very quickly, it's cash closing, it would pop up and say that my closing is today at 4. So the calendar can be very helpful to you as well. All right, so going into transactions. Now, because I'm the broker owner of the company, mine defaults to all of your alls. I have 2 options. So I'm going to go to my transactions. And this one died. So I'm going to click on it. It did. It says cancel transaction because it died. I don't need to keep any of this in Weichert Works, so I'm just going to cancel it. Can I ask me a few different times to make sure I really want it? I do. All right, so here we are. So these are the things that I have currently under listed or under contract. I am going to add a transaction because I have something that went under contract this week. It is residential, so I'm going to click on residential. Now, you won't see this over here because I can load for all of you. That's why that's there. But you're going to come up and you're going to say it's a residential one. It is a sale. I have it under contract. I represent the buyer. I'm going to create a new transaction. First name. And the reason why I want to enter all of this in first is because now if I'm on the fly on my phone, I can simply email any docs that are loaded into Weichert Works or have a communication with him through Weichert Works. All right, so my contact is added. Create new transaction. Now, keep in mind that Fernando is now in Weichert Works and will be until I die. So if he sells the house I'm showing him, all of his information is going to already be here. So this is a great way to keep all of your clients right at your fingertips as well. All right, so we have to start by setting the property. And I can search by the MLS or enter the basic info. So for property not in the MLS, which I sold to FSBO last week, I can hit the bottom entry here and type in the address and all of the details from there. In this particular case, I have the MLS. I don't have the MLS number at my fingertips, but I have the address, which is and it locates it right away. I'm going to hit select listing, set property now. And it has loaded all of the information onto Weichert Works. Well, best. So there it is. It has the square footage, the bedrooms, the baths. It has a photo of the property. It has every photo of the listing embedded into Weichert Works. The listing agent is over there, the status, etc. Year it's built. All of this information is now loaded in Weichert Works and will stay here forever. Once you have closed out your transaction, it goes under the status of filed. I merely go into filed transactions and type in the address or the name of the party, and it will pull right up into the storage system of Weichert Works. This is why we charge the $125 fee. It stores all of this information into Weichert Works for the rest of our lives. So if I go to list this house in 2025, all of this information is already in Weichert Works. I can even pull up the photos from the previous listing in Weichert Works to compare how it looks in 2025 when I go to list it. So all this information is stored in there. Probably not. I think it has a direct link to the MLS. No. And there is a new status on the MLS that if you want some of them to go away once it's under contract, you each as an individual agent has the ability to go in there and make that photo private. Okay, so once it goes pending, those private marked photos in the MLS will disappear. All right. All right, so Hancock Trace is now loaded, and it's going to tell me that I have 25 items that are needed. So I go back in to click on it. I have the property set, which is why it's not orange. I have 3 things that are necessary in the contact section. I have 17 that are in the dates and info, and I need 5 documents. Okay, so under contacts, and this is what the staff does for you every time you turn in a listing or a sale. They're entering all of this information in there for you, which is why on the cover sheet, it's so important that you have the contact information for the buyers and the sellers on there. Names, phone numbers, and email addresses. So I have to add the seller's name. I have to add the seller's agent. And his name is Sean. I have no clue. I'm not going to go through all this because I don't want to take time to do it while I'm teaching you all this. It's going to eventually ask for who the lender is, which is the vendor. It's going to add if there's a buyer's agent coordinator. So if there's another staff person on the team or you have a co-listing agent, you can add that information. There's add partner. If I wanted to add Fernando's wife, I simply click on add buyer and I'm going to type in Alicia's name there. So I would type all of her contact information. So if I wanted to email them anything, I can just click on both of their names and send an email. All right, and then the title agent is required because we're going to have to know who the title company was. And to close this out, the transaction has to be closed with a copy of the settlement statement. If it's in Jefferson County, I have to have the smoke detector ordinance that's required by law. So basically, this is going to be your contract management system, your transaction management system. All of the required docs required by law must be in here. The beautiful thing about this is I can load the PVA information. I can load the inspection report. I can upload the repair request. All of this information can be kept because it's unlimited storage space. Now, over here on your right, you're going to see Updater. For those of you who are not familiar with Updater, if I have actually programmed all of the information properly into this system, then it's going to notify automatically the buyers or sellers, whoever I'm representing in the transaction, a few days prior to closing, maybe even a few weeks, and let them know that they can do all of their mail transfer, subscriptions, prescriptions, LG&E, water, Oldham County Water, Shelby County Water, wherever they're located, cable companies. Updater actually picks all of the service providers for that particular transaction and will send them an email, and then your client simply goes online and they can change everything. So their address change can be done through Updater, and that's a free service provided by Weichert to each of you all. But it won't happen if you aren't managing the transaction from Weichert Works. So to manage it and make sure that it's happening properly, dates and info are required. So these are the 17 things that you have to do, and this is what the staff is doing for you. And on this particular one, I usually just make this stuff up. It doesn't matter how long. It is not a Weichert lead network, so I'm going to hit no. All right, so you just answer all of these questions. It's going to ask you what the amount of the good faith deposit is and who it's being held by, which is extremely helpful to Bill, because if he goes into Weichert Works, there's a copy of the good faith check in Weichert Works. Remember, we don't share that with the other agents or other companies, but it is in Weichert Works so that he can quickly verify that, yes, we're holding the check, who wrote the check, because the government tells us we have to send the check back to whoever wrote it, and then the amount of the check. All right, so those things must be in here. Was it built before 1978 or not? That has to do with lead-based paint, so that question needs to be answered. What type of financing is the buyer using? It's going to be a conventional mortgage. You do not have to do the amount. You don't have to do loan approval unless you just want to. It is important that you are putting the commission, and in this particular case, it's a limited service, so I'm getting a whopping 2.5%. I have no idea what the other agent's listing is, but if we were the listing agent, that's what we would plug in. All right, so as you can see, you can go in and change all of this information. What's really interesting is that as soon as I put in here closing date on the contract is September 10th. So now I have complied with that Updater thing, because I put a closing date in here. It will now trigger Updater to send an email roughly a week or so before September 10th, giving these people the option of making all their changes online. So if you don't want to do all of this right now, at least enter the closing date in here. That's going to help you. All right, so you can see the number has dropped up here on the dates and info, so now I only have 10 out of the 17. I need documents. And the document list is going to keep you legal. So it's going to ask for the things highlighted in yellow that are required right now: the consumer guide, the agency agreement, the purchase contract, the seller's disclosure, and the wire transfer doc. Now, I have noticed that some people are not using the wire transfer doc, and that's perfectly fine. If you click on it, it's going to say request exemption. In this particular case, I know my buyers are not going to even worry about a wire transfer. I didn't have them sign the doc. That's perfectly fine. Just give a reason. All right, I'm not coming after you. I just want to know that you are complying with at least presenting the docs to your buyer, because everything that we do in the packet is to keep you legal and safe. All right, so as you can see, I have now made it exempt. It is not required and not going to hold up a closing. The reason why I'm making a big deal about this is the staff has been trained to make sure that you are complying with our rules to keep you safe. So if you go in here and do this, then it's not going to hold you up. But the staff is going to push you to give the documents to them because they're trying to keep it legal. So it's another reason for you to stay on top of what you're doing. All right, to load a document, I'm going to say, obviously, there's no exemption for that. I have to have it. You can see there is no exemption key. I have to have that. So I'm going to attach the document. I'm going to upload it from a file folder on my computer. Click upload a file. It is on my desktop. And it is called, what did I say, the Hancock Trace? It's actually under Alicia, whoops, wrong. It's under Alicia's name. All right, so here is the contract. All right, so this is the way I loaded it. I just scanned it from the copy machine into my desktop, and then I saved it in the file. So as you can see, the first 7 pages are the contract, and then these pages over here are all seller disclosure. If I had just the 7 pages of the contract, I could click this button and send them all up there. In this particular case, the seller disclosure doesn't need to be in there with it. So you can see how quickly it would have loaded had I separated them out. Okay, so now I've got these disclosures are still back there in green. I'm going to create the document. Save and add another because I still had that seller disclosure on that desktop. All right. So now I'm going to add, and basically what I'm trying to tell you is you could load everything, the consumer guide, the agency disclosure, seller disclosure, lead-based paint, all of this could be scanned right into the computer, save it to your desktop, load it all here, and then all you do is click what pages you want to send into next, and you can reorder them. You can see how it lights up like that. If I wanted to move that page here, all I do is hold my cursor down and move it around. Create document. And now because I didn't start by saying I wanted to load the contract, it's going to give me the options of all of the documents I can load. So this is the seller disclosure signed by all parties. I'm going to save the document. Okay, so it takes me back to the main page. Now you can see the purchase contract and the seller disclosure are not highlighted yellow any longer, so I have complied with the document storage. If I want to email this, it gives me all of these options over here. If I have labeled it the wrong thing, I can remove it, I can reattach it, I can send and share. By clicking on that, I already have the email address of Fernando in there, so it's going to give me an option. If I had actually loaded Sean, the listing agent, the lender's information, Fernando's information, all of that would pop up. And you can see the only 2 people that are in the transaction right now are me and Fernando. But if I had gone to the trouble, or the time I should say, to load everybody in the transaction, it's going to give me all of those options to whom I can share this with. All right. So just in an effort of saving time, I don't want to dwell on it too long, but you get the idea. Once it's in here, it's in here. All right. All right, let's look at, are there any questions? Do you have any questions on this? Have you played with it? Okay. Any idea, any questions, or is it easy enough to follow them? You can't screw it up. It's a website, so go in and play with it. I am going to minimize this, take you into KB Core. All right. Now again, because I'm the broker owner, my dashboard on KB Core or my Weichert is going to look different than yours. Although I can't touch any private leads that you all get, you have loaded your sphere of influence into KB Core. I can't see any of it. What I can see is any Weichert lead network lead that comes through or any lead that comes from your website onto KB Core. I have the ability to see all that right here. Okay. Weichert Tools is how you're going to access, where to go? Everything that used to be accessed through the links on Weichert Works, but they're trying to get you used to using the dashboard of KB Core. So go into My Weichert, and then once you've logged in, the tools will be on the bottom left-hand corner, and this is what pops up. This, again, because I'm a broker owner, there's two things in here that you're not going to have. Associate bios, where I can manage your bios, and it's not going to have profiles and photos because I can control all of that on your site. All right. What you are going to see is everything else. So here's where you're going to go in to create your listing presentation and your leave behind. Okay, so it's a direct link to do that. Here is where you're going to upload your profile. And this is important because it's going to embed all of your contact information, your photo and logo on anything you do through Weichert. Here is where you're going to fill out your bio. So you want to go in there and edit your bio. And again, it's a website. You can't screw it up. Just don't forget to hit save. Every time you go in here and you make a change, make sure you're looking for the save button so you get that done. Here is your photos and your personal branding. This is important because if you're going to do the branding book where you can go in and talk about your life and while you're in real estate and things, this is where you can upload the other photos. Maybe you're interested in gardening, so you have a photo of your garden in there. Maybe you like to snow ski. You might want to put a picture of snow skis or mountain picture or whatever. Put that in there so that you have your photos at your fingertips. Here's where you can order signs and create brochures. So this is your personal marketing. So if you want to go in here and order anything on your own, this is where you can go and do it. You can do direct mail from here right to the Weichert Design Store. If you want to order different business cards, the personal marketing company can do that for you. And the reason why this is all here is because anything you do directly through a Weichert approved supplier, you don't have to have approval from me because it's already an approved supplier by Weichert Corporate. So anything you do in here is going to be acceptable, is my point. All right, marketing resources. This is reference sheets and branding things. Again, you can, these are, a lot of these you can just print on the fly and go. Here's the buying and selling. Oh, in Spanish. I didn't see that before I clicked it. So you have a Spanish speaking client. There you are. You have an 8-page of what it's like to buy and sell, all in Spanish. I hadn't seen that. I can't do this because I can't see what I'm doing. All right. Sorry, I get confused when all the stuff for the GoToMeeting is in my desktop screen. All right. I locked it up. All right. So again, there is the buyer journey with the Weichert flyer. You have buying and selling a chart through the Weichert Design Store if you want to buy one. It's the big fold-out chart. There are 10 on each page, so there are several pages that you can pull from. There's a newsletter. So if you want to do your newsletter monthly, you can set it up through this. Door hangers through iMail, you can do that through Quantum. So virtual home marketing flyer. Again, if you want to just download it and print it, just click this and you can download it and save it to your desktop, and then you'll have it all the time. If you want to print it, the icon shows up right there. So a lot of this stuff is already online and ready for you to go. So you have things that you can take with you if you're going, for example, on a for sale by owner meeting, expired meeting. All of this stuff is going to be buried in all of these marketing resources at your fingertips. So it's through the KV Core site and the tools. Tools and resources, again, this is just more things that you can print. There's the Getting to Know You brochure so that you can write on it. This is going to get Getting to Know You, the seller. So this would be something you might want to take with you on that. Key points at the sale. The price trend analysis is embedded in here. So it's giving you little clips of things that you can do, how you greet people, what you say, how to get people interested in doing business with you, because after all, you're selling yourself, not property. So again, we could spend days on this, and I'm not going to go through all this. There's the market absorption rate. That's a great PDF if you haven't seen that one. This is what I was talking about in the sales meeting. It shows, this is a great graph to take and show people that it's a seller's market, anything between 1 and 5 months. And this is really important. I had a conversation yesterday with some buyers that bought a house. They paid ask price for it. Those people started to go look for a house and realized how tight this market is and made several offers, lost out because of the bidding war. The buyers of those people's house expected every repair on the report to be made. And it put me in an awkward position trying to explain to them that you all got a great deal. They didn't negotiate with you on the price. It's a for sale by owner, so they're not paying a listing agent a fee. So they've saved some money there, but still, now that they've gone out to look for houses, they've realized it's a bidding war and people were bidding up $15,000 over ask price. I'm looking at my buyers going, do you think maybe these sellers think that they should have actually listed the property? Because they saved $9 grand on a commission by not listing it with a realtor, but they're learning that people are writing offers for $15,000, $20,000 over ask price. Do you think they think there might be some money left on the table? Absolutely. So I said, they're not going to make any repairs. In fact, they might want you to walk in an effort to go list the house and sell it for $10,000, $15,000 more money. So then they said, well, how about closing cost assistance? Like, I just wanted to beat my head against the wall. I said, come on, people. In this market, that's not going to happen. So having this at your fingertips and showing people this, it's a seller's market. They don't have to do anything to keep the buyer happy. I've seen houses come on the market 3 and 4 times on the MLS because these buyers think, well, I'll pay too much for it, and then I'll come back and beat the seller up and either get repairs or closing cost assistance or something. When the sellers are going, to heck with you, I'll go put it back on the market and sell it to somebody else. So this is a very powerful tool. Now, in 2007, 8, 9, when the market plummeted, it was a buyer's market. And anyone who sat through my orientation class at the board, I talked about how the only way we were selling houses was to give away the Cadillac or the living room furniture or whatever. That was a buyer's market. We had to come up with some incentive to get people to buy the house. All right. Today, if you're not having a conversation with your buyer saying, look, let's inspect, the real question is, do you want to move forward or not? Because the likelihood of a seller really making all these repairs, especially if they're piddly, is slim to none. For example, these buyers in the house they currently own got slam dunked in it. It was a bad deal from the get-go. So they are feeling burned. So now in this particular case, they want everything. They said, the home inspector said that the sump pump might have a little age on it, but it's still functional. They wanted the seller to replace the sump pump. It's not broken. So this is a conversation you need to have in this market. And these tools will help you if you'll go into this site and pull up some things. So it's not just coming from you. This is real life stuff. Again, there are 10 items per page. There's 2 pages of items here. So there are lots of tools and resources on this site. Weichert University is here. Here's your open house registry. If you want to get it and download it and save it to your desktop, this is where you're going to go to do that. This is your access to Weichert One. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Here is how you can power your mobile device with the My Weichert platform. They have Android and Apple downloads. Here's your contact management platform here and your open house app. Okay, so you can do it from Apple or Android from there. If you haven't downloaded those apps, you really need to do that. Make sure you have Weichert Works on your phone as well. So when you're sitting on the beach, you can access it and send things to your clients or to the lender or to the closing attorney, which is why it's mandatory when you load all of this into Weichert Works, you have to have the contact information for the lender, for the closing attorney, for the other agent, and the name of the seller and the buyer's contact information. Here is your client follow-up if you want to pay for it yourself. This is what you can do here through the personal marketing company. Now we have a form that when you turn in your closing documents, if you want to do the $25 follow-up plan, merely tell us where to send the information. That just requires the address and the name of your client. And then the staff's going to hand that to me, and I'll take care of ordering all of this. All right. And then we'll just bill you back eventually the $25. So this is after closing. Get the document from the staff, fill it out, they'll turn it into me, and then for 5 years, this personal marketing company is going to drip on your client with postcards, a magazine, address labels, a thank you letter. All of that will be taken care of for you. But if you want to do it yourself, or you've got a client that you sold something to a year ago and you want to add them to it, this is where you go. We did the managing a virtual open house. This is going to be tutorials on doing that, so you can go in and hear a play there. Approve suppliers. Again, anything you do through the site is going to be approved through Weichert. As you can see, you can order clothing, apparel and promotional items. There's your name badges, business cards, stationery, anything you want to order. They're already going to have the Weichert logo here, and they know how to change the ABG properties and make it fit in. So anything and it goes on, I'm not going to belabor this point, but anything you want to order that has to do with promotional items, these are all the approved suppliers. Here's how you register for training webinars. There's upcoming training and My Weichert training. Open house experience right there. There's fast track. If you want to sit through the Virtual Management Academy, Jane, it's free if you want to do that again. There's the success track for the people that have already graduated from fast track. That's the next level. So all of those are the different dates that you can do it. And then the other one was the My Weichert. So anything you want to learn about KV Core would be on the other one, which is the My Weichert training right there. So just click on that one. All right, going back to the Weichert University. All right, Weichert tracks the courses that you have done. If the phone rings, it'll pick up where you left off. It has a list of the things you've completed. Again, it'll take you to the resources for whatever you might need. There are live webinars. Here is the Buyer Mastery Kit. Everything that you're going to need to get to know your buyer. There's the buyer consultation if you want to download that. Tutorials on the conversation that you should have with your buyer. This is going to be the value story guide, which is about 65 pages, which is going to explain to you the Weichert way. Here's where you can access the price trend analysis. From here, the Getting to Know You brochure is a very lengthy document. I actually made one that's more concise. It's in the file drawers at all the offices. It's still probably 10 pages long, but if you grab it when you take your listing packet with you, it asks questions about the kind of flooring in each of the rooms, how old the HVAC system is, whether or not it has radon mitigation, whether it has a sump pump. All of these questions are there. So when you pull out that document and you start asking these questions to the seller, you're getting very in-depth as to knowing everything there is to possibly know about that property, which only elevates the confidence in the client in you that you actually know as much as you possibly could about the property in order to answer any objection that a buyer might have on that listing. So a lot of people will fly by the seat of their pants and just walk in, fill out the listing agreement, and throw it out on the MLS. And then I call and ask a question, and they go, I don't know, I don't have a clue. I have sat as the judge on the jury for the grievance committee standards of practice when clients or fellow realtors have a problem with the other side. And I can't tell you how many times the cases that came before us were because the agents weren't prepared in either representing their buyer or their seller. For example, I had one case where the people that bought the house, and it was a dual agency situation, they bought it from the listing agent, they finished the basement, and then a week later the basement flooded like an indoor swimming pool. Turns out the house was in the floodplain, and the listing agent never made the effort to determine whether or not it was in the floodplain. His response to us as we were sitting there judge and jury was, it's my fault, I never walked into the backyard. Had I seen the creek in the backyard, I probably would have known to go on to the PVA or to the FEMA website and verify whether it was or wasn't in the floodplain. He ended up having to buy the house back. Most realtors don't have the ability to do that. But in an effort to save his license and not go through a court hearing, a real court hearing, not just the board of realtors, he bought the house back. So we don't want to be in that position. You need to do your homework, and you need to understand everything there is to know on representing your property and preparing for your buyer to understand what it is they're buying. So this Getting to Know You brochure can be very helpful, especially if you're newer in the business. There's your open house kit. There's a checklist in here that's going to give you everything that you need to know about setting up your open house. And again, this is something that you might want to just print and keep with you so you use it as a reference to make sure that you have your pointers in place, the sign writer is up, that you are doing your door knocking, your I-calls, whatever the case may be, to make sure that you are doing your open house the Weichert way. Because after all, when we're going in and doing the doors presentation, there's 2 pages in the doors presentation devoted to doing open houses. You want to make sure you're going to do them as you've presented, because on one page it says the before the open house, during the open house, and after the open house. Here's your cheat sheet to make sure you're doing exactly that. Setting it up, greeting people at the door, asking the correct questions, being able to answer the questions to overcome objections, and then the follow-up after the fact to make sure that you have let the people that walk through the house know if it's been a price reduction, or you got an offer on it, or because of the feedback the seller is going to change the paint color. Whatever the case may be, the follow-up is very important as well. Okay, where to go? No, I went out of there altogether. All right. Again, this is a direct link into the personal marketing if you want to do that. There are FSBO brochures in here, expired brochures, how to call people, the guide on what questions to say or how to present yourself. This is the business toolkit, and if you have not done one, it's a great time to do it because it's the second half of the year, into the second half of the year. And by answering the questions, which are multiple choice, it will spit out how much money you should make based on the activities that you're going to do. Have you done a business planning tool? Have you seen it, or did anybody tell you about it? Okay. I actually did one a couple of years ago. Now keep in mind, I've been doing this for 30 years, so I'm pretty good at keeping my business together. But for fun, I went in there to see how much money I was going to make based on the activities. And it spit it out. It was like I was going to make 40 grand a year. That ain't enough money for me. I need way more money to survive than that. So I went in and altered how many open houses I would do, how many sphere mailings I would do, how many phone calls I would make, and got the numbers where I needed them to be. The people in this office that have actually done the business planning tool, use it as a reference. It'll spit out a calendar, and it'll give you each day by day what activities you need to be doing based on how much money you want to make at the end of the year. So it's a great tool. Excuse me. This is your Weichert Lead Network. If you want to get involved in that, if you are not already involved in it, you do need to take the tutorials on it. And then we need to send the document into Weichert Corporate to get you set up so that the phone will ring to you in the event somebody is on the Weichert.com site and has a house they're interested in viewing or want to ask questions. So if you want to get in the Weichert Lead Network, that is there. All right, here is your Weichert 1 link. Again, I'm doing all of this through KV Core. There are all the online courses, Manager's Best Practices, Lead Specialist Certification. I'll take you right into WLN. Here are all the Weichert tools, so it's just another way to access all of that. But all of these online courses are things that Weichert's going to track for you if you actually sit through the tutorials. And there are all kinds of them. How to do the open house from start to finish, which is a video. You can see that right here. Here's the affordability. And this is kind of cool because if you download this, and this would be a tool that you might want to have on you're at an open house. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet. So if you had it on your computer, you can click on it. You don't know where it went. Nope. There it is. You can change up the numbers. So it has a field. If the home price is $350 and the rate is not 3.62 anymore. Oh, sorry. Read out. All right. It's actually 2.875. Nope. Try again. No, what am I doing wrong? Okay, I'm doing something wrong. I know what it is. No. Weird. There we go. Put the percent sign in. That would help. 2.875 reduces their payment to 1402. So if you have somebody that doesn't know whether or not they can afford to buy something, you can change how much money they're going to put down. You can change their loan amount, obviously, the home price, and then it'll spit out their monthly payment so they can see exactly what they're doing. All right. Sorry, I should not have belabored that as long as I did. The art of negotiation, follow-up guide, the buyer consultation. So this is earn the loyalty of your buyers. The buyer control sheet is really cool. I have one that I've created that is a little simple cheat sheet for you virtual people. I'm holding up a one-page document that I created that I fill out this information because once it's on this page, it's very easy for me to load it into Weichert Works. All right, and it asks all the appropriate question, email address, phone numbers, contract date, anticipated closing date, information about their loan, who the lender is, all that information that's required for Weichert Works. This too will do it. Interestingly enough, this is in here, and it is required by law to track all the properties shown. In the event you're in a procuring cause situation, having showing time printed out to prove that you have shown these various houses to the name of the buyer that is on the list will help you not only with the IRS to prove your mileage, but could help you in a procuring cause situation where the buyer jumps ships and decides to go buy the house directly for somebody else, and you're the one that showed it. So if you're using showing time to set up your showings, make sure you're doing it under the name of your buyer and keep track of it. It's going to be in the MLS, but if you need to periodically print it off, you might want to do that just to make sure that you're taking care of your buyer and protecting the fact that you are their client. A little side note on this, if you picked up a new buyer, you're a little bit unsure that they're going to be loyal to you, you can use the exclusive buyer agency agreement, but it doesn't matter if you aren't constantly talking to the person and constantly showing them property. If you merely set them up on an MLS search and you're just randomly sending them emails and you're not even doing it, but the MLS system's doing it for yourself, they're not your client. So don't confuse that. You have to have an uninterrupted chain of events, which means you're physically out there showing properties to these people, calling them on the phone, sending them emails, not relying just on an automated search from the MLS. And this comes up often, not necessarily in our office, but other agents will claim that that's their buyer when in fact it's not. It's an uninterrupted chain of events. You show a buyer a house for 6 months and then you go dark for 2 months, they're free game for another agent to take over because of that interruption in the chain of events. But if I showed these buyers who I just got under contract 7 houses in the last 3 days, which I did, and then they jump ship and somebody else writes an offer for them, I have an issue with that. There is a procuring cause claim in there if I'm the one that showed the property, all right? So tracking this is really important. I try to keep a list of the houses I've shown these people in my file folders so that if it ever comes up, I have proof that I have an uninterrupted chain of events with these people. All right. I think that's about all I have. If y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to email, call, or text. But there's a lot of information buried in here. And again, I go back to, you just start at the KV Core site. And this will pop up. So just go into Weichert Tools from your KV Core dashboard, and all of these things are right here at your fingertips. All right, that's all I got. Thank you all very much for coming, and have a good weekend. I will see you on Monday at noon.
Thank you.